War Horse is a compelling children's historical fiction novel penned by Michael Morpurgo. Originally published in Great Britain by K. Ward in 1982, the book garnered recognition as a Whitbread Book Award runner-up during the same year. It weaves a captivating narrative from the perspective of Joey, a young horse, chronicling his remarkable journey and the profound relationships he forms with various owners during the tumultuous backdrop of World War I. This beloved novel weaves a touching tale of enduring friendship and unwavering courage against formidable odds. The story's enduring appeal led playwright Nick Stafford to adapt War Horse into an award-winning play in 2007, which received widespread acclaim and garnered accolades such as the Olivier Award, Evening Standard Theatre Award, and London Critics' Circle Theatre Award for Design. In 2011, esteemed director Steven Spielberg brought this heartfelt tale to the big screen in a film adaptation starring Jeremy Irvine, Tom Hiddleston, Emily Watson, and Benedict Cumberbatch. A few years prior to the outbreak of World War I, a spirited Red Bay colt named Joey comes into the world in Devon, England. He is swiftly purchased by an inebriated farmer, and the journey is arduous. By the time they arrive at the farm, Joey is drenched in sweat, and the halter has chafed his face raw. The farmer's wife and their young son, Albert, pay Joey a visit, and a deep connection instantly forms between Albert and the horse. Despite his mother's skepticism, Albert believes in an immediate and instinctive bond of trust between them. During his free moments away from school and work, Albert takes Joey on long walks, and Joey learns to respond to his whistle, not out of obedience, but out of a genuine desire to be with Albert. Unfortunately, father's drinking problem persists, and he returns home intoxicated every Tuesday. 2 years after Joey's arrival, father enters Joey's stall armed with a whip. He informs Joey that he has placed a bet on taming the horse to plow a field within a week, vowing to do whatever it takes to win. When father raised the whip, Joey instinctively kicked him in response. Enraged, father threatened to shoot the horse, but instead, he delivered an ultimatum: Albert must train Joey within 1 week, or else Joey would be sold. Driven by an unwavering determination to keep Joey, Albert embarked on the arduous task. The gentle words and kindnesses that had defined their relationship were replaced with stern commands and the occasional lash of a whip whenever Albert felt that Joey wasn't giving his best. As the week drew to a close, Albert emerged victorious in the bet, securing Joey's continued presence. However, the specter of World War I cast its shadow over Britain, and Albert harbored a fervent desire to enlist in the army with Joey at his side. Back home, heated debates, mostly between Albert and his mother, ensued over father's persistent drunkenness and irresponsible behavior. Mother attributed father's woes to the mortgage, which had been secured to ensure Albert's future on the farm, driving him to drink. She implored Albert to seek the good in his father, but Albert's patience wore thin, particularly with father's incessant complaints about Joey. One fateful night, father sent Albert on an errand, seizing the opportunity to lure Joey out of the stall. In a hasty decision, he sold Joey to Captain Nichols of the British Army for £40. Albert rushed back to the camp, desperate to prevent the sale, but he arrived too late. Determined to stay with Joey, Albert offered to join the cavalry, but his youth prevented him from doing so. Captain Nichols, however, assured Albert that he would take good care of Joey and allowed him a moment to bid a tearful farewell. In that poignant moment, Albert made a solemn promise to Joey that they would be reunited someday. Joey soon found himself adapting to the life of a war horse, receiving training from Corporal Samuel Perkins, an ex-jockey who struck fear into the hearts of both troopers and horses alike. Captain Nichols frequently visited Joey, adopting a similar tone and care as Albert once had, even sketching the horse. Joey also forged a deep connection with Captain Jamie Stewart, along with Stewart's horse, Topthorn, a magnificent black steed that mirrored Joey in strength and loyalty. Gradually, Joey began to dwell less on his former life, but the memory of Albert's face and voice remained etched in his mind. During one of Captain Nichols' visits, he confides in Joey, expressing his reluctance to be at war and his apprehension that his soldiers may not fully grasp the gravity of the impending conflict. Sadly, his fears are soon realized as the cavalry proves ill-prepared for the machine guns and artillery that await them on the battlefield. As the troops arrive in France, they are met with the grim reality of war, long stretches of wounded and fallen soldiers. Joey, too, comes face to face with the finality of death when Captain Nichols is shot off his back during their first battle and disappears forever. Joey's new owner becomes Trooper Warren, a young apprentice blacksmith known for his gentleness and kindness. The last horse Trooper Warren rode met a tragic fate, but Joey helps him find the strength and courage to ride once more. Joey, Trooper Warren, Captain Stewart, and Topthorne become the sole survivors of the battle and find themselves in enemy territory, surrounded by German soldiers. While the soldiers are taken prisoner, Joey and Topthorne are pressed into service with the German army. To their surprise, the Germans treat them with utmost respect, even providing them with the luxury of a stable. They are tasked with hauling ambulances to and from the front lines, saving the lives of countless soldiers, both German and British. The stable they inhabit belongs to an elderly Frenchman and his granddaughter, young Emily. Emily cares for the horses as if they were her own, spending countless hours talking to them. However, one night, Emily falls gravely ill, teetering on the brink of death. Miraculously, she survives, but her once strong body is forever weakened. When the Germans eventually depart, they grant Joey and Topthorne the privilege of staying behind with grandfather and Emily. Their peaceful life on the farm is disrupted once more when additional German soldiers arrive, demanding that grandfather surrender the horses to the army. Tearfully bidding farewell, Emily vows to someday reclaim them. Joey and Topthorne are once again thrust into the chaos of war, where the struggle intensifies for both men and horses alike. They endure grueling days, trudging through the muddy terrain with painful sores on their legs. Food and rest become scarce, and even the stalwart and dutiful Topthorne eventually succumbs to the brutal conditions, succumbing to heart failure. Joey remains by his friend's side as long as he can, but he is forced to leave Topthorne's lifeless body behind when a menacing tank, the first Joey has ever encountered, approaches him. Desperation drives Joey to flee, but he unwittingly runs into a coil of barbed wire, injuring his leg. After a difficult struggle, he manages to free himself, stumbling onward into the night, guided only by the belief that safety might lie in the darkest recesses of the night, far from the shelling. Eventually, he realizes that he is stranded in a vast, desolate expanse between two enemy encampments known as No Man's Land. From either side of this perilous divide, a German soldier and a British soldier emerge, both bearing white flags, attempting to coax Joey toward them. They momentarily set aside their differences and engage in a discussion about what would be best for the wounded horse. After concluding that either side can provide adequate care for Joey's leg, they resort to a coin toss to determine his fate. The British soldier emerges as the winner, and the German departs peacefully. Joey is then transported in a wagon to a British veterinary hospital, where he is greeted with astonishment as the famous horse who survived the treacherous No Man's Land. He is led away to be cleaned by a young soldier, who turns out to be Albert. Albert had joined the cavalry as soon as he was of age, driven by the hope of one day reuniting with Joey. Though Joey recognizes Albert immediately, Albert remains uncertain until he stands apart from the horse and summons him with his distinct owl whistle. At the sound of this familiar call, Joey responds eagerly, trotting over to Albert and burying his head in Albert's shoulder. At long last, Joey and Albert are reunited. However, Joey's trials are far from over. His leg wound worsens, and he receives a diagnosis of tetanus, posing a new threat to his survival. Hope for Joey's recovery is minimal, leading Major Martin, one of the veterinarians, to suggest euthanizing him. However, Albert vehemently opposes this idea and, with David's assistance, manages to persuade Major Martin to attempt to save Joey's life. Reluctantly, they agree, embarking on a challenging journey to nurse Joey back to health. Against the odds, Joey gradually improves and ultimately conquers the illness. The war eventually comes to an end, but not without further losses. As the soldiers prepare to return home, they receive disheartening news that the horses, including Joey, will not accompany them. Instead, the horses are slated to be sold at auction in France. Determined to rescue Joey, the soldiers pool their resources to gather enough money for the auction. Their plan seems promising until a cruel and imposing figure outbids them, leaving the soldiers without options. In a moment of unexpected salvation, grandfather stands up in the crowd and places a higher bid. He implores the heartless man not to raise the bid further, as he is willing to pay any amount to regain Emily's beloved horse. The auction concludes with grandfather emerging as the winning bidder. Albert rushes to find grandfather afterward, curious about his motivation for purchasing Joey. Grandfather shares the poignant story of Emily, revealing that she passed away shortly after the horses were taken from her. Before her death, he made a solemn promise to Emily that he would spare no effort to reunite the horses and provide them with care. Having met Albert and witnessed their deep bond, grandfather believes that Joey rightfully belongs with his original master. Grandfather sells Joey to Albert for a mere English penny, with the understanding that Albert will care for the horse and carry on the legacy of Emily. Albert solemnly agrees, and the two part ways, their hearts heavy with emotion. Albert and Joey return home as heroes, though they both acknowledge that the true heroes are the ones who remain absent. They hold in their hearts the memories of those left behind, individuals who have indelibly shaped their lives. Albert goes on to marry his girlfriend, Maisie Brown, and they embark on the journey of starting a family together. Albert assumes responsibility for the farm from his father, who is transformed into a gentler and more compassionate man. Having endured the hardships of a long and harrowing war, Joey and Albert are now prepared to face whatever new beginnings await them. I hope you enjoyed this video. Leave a like if you did and be sure to subscribe. Thank you.